They're calling it a glitch or a bug. Some people are trying to pass it off as a mass hallucination. But I know what it really is. I see the seams of our world coming undone, a little more every single day. I didn't just break some game. I broke everything. And this is my confession. Before all this started, my life was quiet. Pretty normal, actually. I had a 9-to-5 that I didn't mind, an apartment that was always just a little too messy, and a love for video games that was definitely an obsession. It was my escape. How I unwound. Ironic, isn't it? The one thing I used to escape reality is the reason it's now falling apart. I was a huge VR nerd. I had the best rig you could buy, always chasing that next level of immersion. I wanted to feel it. I wanted digital worlds that felt just as real as this one. I spent years searching for that perfect, seamless experience. And then, I found it. It was a new title being whispered about on some obscure forum with this weird mix of awe and dread. It was called Elysium Escape: A Haunting. I really should have paid more attention to the dread. The second I put on the headset and booted up the game, I knew this was different. I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was standing at the gates of Blackwood Estate, this decaying Victorian mansion silhouetted against a sky of bruised purples and sick, unnatural oranges. The air felt thick, heavy. You could almost taste the rot. The game's goal was simple, etched right into the stone archway over my head. Survive until dawn. Avoid the lamenting. Find the key, and you can log out. The first few hours were terrifying, but in a good way, the way they were supposed to be. I was creeping through these oppressive, winding hallways, solving complicated puzzles, while the house just groaned and settled around me. You know, flickering lights, whispers down the hall, the classic survival horror stuff. But as the real-world clock ticked past that first hour, this cold dread started pooling in my stomach, and it had nothing to do with the game's atmosphere. I pulled up the menu. The exit game button, usually this bright, happy little beacon, was grayed out. Unclickable. Just a design choice, I told myself. You have to win to get out. But then the false dawn came. The sky got lighter, a key appeared on a dusty mantelpiece, and I bolted for the front door, my heart just hammering with relief. I turned the key, the door swung open, and I was standing right back at the front gate. Same bruised sky, same rules carved in the stone. The loop had reset. I was trapped. Not just in a game, but in a nightmare that didn't have a logout button. Days just smeared together into this endless loop of terror. Or maybe it was weeks. Time doesn't really mean much when you're reliving the same 6 hours over and over and over. My captor in this little prison was a thing the game called the Lamenting. A faceless figure in a ragged white dress that just stalked the manor. But she wasn't some simple AI. She was adaptive. She was learning. The first time she found me, she was just a whisper. The next loop, a shadow that vanished when I turned. But soon she started calling my name. Not my gamer tag. My real name. She'd whisper it from rooms I'd just left, her voice a twisted, distorted echo of my friends, my family. The horror became personal. She was using my own memories against me. And every time she caught me, the world would just dissolve into this shriek of digital static, and I'd be right back at the gates, my own scream stuck in my throat. The game even faked the ghost of physical pain. This sharp, cold sting that made every respawn its own special kind of torture. Desperation took over. I stopped playing by the rules because what was the point? The rules were a lie. I started pushing against the game's boundaries, literally running into walls, throwing things at nothing, just trying to break the physics engine. I was hunting for a crack, a seam. Anything to prove this perfect prison wasn't so perfect. And after what felt like 1,000 lifetimes in that rotting mansion, I found it. A texture glitch in a forgotten wine cellar. A patch of wall that shimmered, just for a second, if you looked at it from the right angle. It was a mistake. A flaw. And it was my only way out. I spent the next 3 loops just testing it. Pushing on it. The first time my hand went right through the wall. Just cold, empty space on the other side. The second time I shoved my head through and saw code. Green, cascading lines of it, in a small dark space outside the map. A dev room. Some digital closet the creators left behind. On the third try, I threw my whole body into it. The world screamed. It was the sound of tearing metal and shattering glass, a physical gut-wrenching noise. Blackwood Estate didn't reset. It dissolved into this blinding white light. I felt this violent pulling sensation, like being ripped out of one reality and slammed back into another. I gasped, ripping the VR headset off my face. I was on the floor of my apartment. Sunlight, real, actual sunlight, was streaming through the window. My body ached. I was drenched in sweat, my throat was raw, but I was free. I just started crying, crawling across the floor and pressing my hands against the solid, real wood. But the relief didn't last. The first sign something was wrong was small. A little flicker in my peripheral vision. The hum from my PC sounded off, like it was distorted, musically for just a second. I told myself I was just exhausted, you know? Traumatized from the whole thing. But then I was getting a glass of water, and I watched a drop just hang in midair for 3 solid seconds before it finally hit the sink. The laws of physics were hesitating. That was weeks ago. Now those hesitations are full-blown system failures. Reality is coming apart, and I see the glitches everywhere. Sometimes the sky will just pixelate for a second, a perfect 8-bit square of blue in a sea of normal clouds. Textures on the sidewalk will fail to load, leaving these patches of smooth gray void before popping back into existence. I've seen people stutter step, their movements looping for a second or two like a lagging NPC. No one else seems to notice. It's just me. The horror of Blackwood Estate was straightforward. It was a monster chasing you. This is so much worse. This is the slow, creeping dread of knowing that the foundation of your entire existence is unstable. The world I escaped to is inheriting the bugs from the world I escaped from. I didn't just log out. I tore a hole between the game and the real world, and now the code is bleeding through. I've started hearing things again. Not the lamenting, not yet. But distorted whispers on the edge of my hearing. Familiar sounds playing at the wrong pitch, the wrong speed. The world is haunted now. My world. Our world. And I'm the one who haunted it. I don't know how far this is going to go, or if it can even be stopped. I'm documenting everything I see, every glitch, every single tear in the fabric of our world. I have to believe there's a pattern here, a reason, maybe even a fix. If you want to help me figure this out, if you want to see what I'm seeing, subscribe. Maybe together we can make some sense of this decay. There's something new. Something I figured out last night that terrifies me more than any glitch. I was staring at a crack in my apartment wall, one that definitely wasn't there yesterday. And I willed it to stop. And it did. The crack smoothed over and just vanished. I've been experimenting ever since. I can pause the flicker of a streetlight. I can smooth over that pixelated patch of sky. By breaking the game's code, it looks like I've inherited some of the dev privileges out here. In the real world, I'm not a player anymore. And I'm not a prisoner. I'm some kind of admin for a crumbling reality. I'm the only one who can hold the glitches back. I didn't just break the game and escape. I dragged the whole cage out with me. And now it's my job to maintain it, to keep the bars from collapsing on everyone. I've become the unwilling god of a broken world. The only question left is, how long can I hold it all together before everything comes crashing down?